Hey, welcome back to the State of Love and Trust. It's episode 314. This week we talk with the singer of a new band whose fans are young, but whose music has an old soul. Could their new EP, Starve, be a part of the grunge revival? Well, stick around and find out with our guest.
What's going on, guys? I'm Reece from Identity Crisis, and this is the State of Love and Trust.
Welcome back to another episode of the State of Love and Trust podcast. I'm one of your two hosts, Jason Kerepesi, and alongside me, as always, is
Paul Ghiglieri.
That was a very somber and particular way of hitting your mic drum.
You use the word somber. I would use the word restrained because I resisted the temptation to hit the hi-hat on your behalf this time.
Are you more of a ride guy?
I guess so. Yeah, Heavy like on the bass, and then anyway. But as I'm sure you will remind me, it was not just for your benefit. It was the benefit of everyone listening right now, so that I don't burst someone's eardrums.
We have pop filters on our microphones, but even those would not stop you from getting overblown
from the pen of power.
Correct.
From the pen
even
of
more
power.
So, even more reason to. If you're watching here on YouTube, go ahead and like the video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notifications. We really do appreciate anybody who subscribes and likes the video. It really does help in these algorithmic days. And if listening only, Paul.
Well, you're hopefully going to rate, review, and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Feed that algorithm, lest you have an identity crisis for not doing so.
There you go. That's the name of the game. We're talking with Reece Gonzales, who is the lead singer, frontman of Identity Crisis out of Corpus Christi, Texas, moved to Austin, and then they've been rocking out ever since, and it's tremendous. It's like I've gone back in time, and yet I'm still here, feeling the things that I felt when I was younger, but also now. Does that make any sense, Paul, at all?
It kind of does. It's like you're in two places at once. It's like that scene in Interstellar where you're like screaming at yourself.
Yes.
Through a library of, quantum physics. I guess I don't know what that was. You're in the middle of a black hole and you love it. How about that?
Do you think Reece ever had an introduction like this before?
It's a celestial opening.
Get to it. God damn it. That's what they're saying. Get to the interview. Fine. Right, we'll get to the interview. We'll get to the interview. Here he is, all the way from Texas, Reece Gonzales of Identity Crisis. Our guest this week is the frontman for the Texas rock outfit Identity Crisis. They bring all the soul and raw energy of the 90s alternative scene, rebuilt and recharged for today. The band just dropped a killer new 6-song EP called Starve, and we are thrilled to dive into it and much more with their lead singer, Reece Gonzales. Welcome to the show, Reece.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Happy to have you, man. Thanks for keeping the flame going here. Maybe reigniting it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, just doing what we love, whatever comes along with it, comes along with it.
Was the alternative rock and roll really doing the rounds in Corpus Christi when you guys were a little bit younger?
Well, I grew up on it. My father.
The father.
Yeah.
Yes.
Father, man.
Dad, we love you.
Grew up in the 80s and exactly 80s, 90s. So a lot of his favorite stuff, he played while I was growing up, Pearl Jam, Van Halen, Metallica, even stuff like Outkast, Michael Jackson, all that sort of stuff. He introduced to all the boys at a young age, me and my brothers. And it stuck with us, and luckily James's parents and Parker's parents were kind of in the same boat as far as, music tastes. And so they kind of picked up on it as well. And we share that in common, luckily, because it's kind of hard to find sometimes with people our age.
You can say your age because I think we're almost twice as old as you. But as Paul said, it's great to see that the flame is either being reignited or is being carried like a torch on a relay. But let's start with so many questions to ask you. Let's start though with the band name. start at the beginning here. The algorithm demands that we ask about identity crisis because it's a very provocative title. And I don't want to ask you like how you came up with it. I want to get deeper than that. So we got this new EP, Starve, right? If the Starve EP is the answer to an identity crisis, what is the question that it answers?
So the thing with Starve, when we made this project, by the way, when we came up with the name Identity Crisis, it meant absolutely nothing at first, which was funny. But over the years, it gained a meaning, it connected with people. It's just something that everybody can relate to. We all kind of go through that, still go through that to this day, trying to figure out, what you're doing, who you are, if you're doing the right thing, making the right decisions. We all go through that. Starve is a compilation of songs that we've been working on pretty much since the beginning for the past 3 years. And Starve, it means a lot to us. I think there's a very clear through line within the songs. They connect. They all have messages of, internal struggle. And that's all that Identity Crisis is an internal struggle. You're battling with your mind. You're battling with yourself. And each one of these songs, I think, covers many of those topics of people's struggles that people struggle with every day, no matter, you're rich, poor, no matter what your situation is. Like, everyone goes through these struggles internally. And I can't wait for people to hear it. I think it's an emotional roller coaster. I think that's what we want to do for people with our music, just like our favorite bands, do for us.
Reece, I want to dig a little bit deeper into the struggle that you're talking about. And I think the best way to do that, is just to dive into the songwriting. So I think for many musicians, it's kind of like it's a way to articulate how they feel that they couldn't otherwise just talk about. Do you feel like songwriting helps resolve who you are, or does it just document the confusion for you?
I think a little bit of both. With songwriting, it's funny because you can do it in so many different ways. You can be extremely straightforward, or, for people that don't want to be straightforward, or people that are scared to be straightforward or scared to speak their mind, you can use it, and be more cryptic with your songwriting and kind of, get what you need to say out, but not in a way to where, you feel like you're doing it the wrong way. Like I said, a lot of people, they're scared to say out loud what's going on, inside their head or what's going on within their life. So they, take a song or write a song and make it cryptic. So people really have to dig deep to get those messages instead of just opening up completely. Some people have a wall up, man, and it's hard to let that wall down,
What about you? What are you saying in these songs that you can't just talk to us about?
I mean, I could, it's just sometimes you got to make it sound a little cooler too, You got to.
Why talk about it when you can rock about it, right?
Exactly. Yes.
That's a great review.
I'm putting that on a shirt.
Yeah.
Bumper sticker.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Oh man.
So we got songs like Starve and Risk It All. They feel driven by longing or wanting something bigger or different, more meaningful.
Correct.
What do you think people are starving for right now?
Honestly, man, I feel like in 2026, as far as music and just life in general, with AI and the internet and, it's just a lot of fake shit. I can say shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Fucking shit, you can.
Okay. There's a lot of fake fucking shit out there, And I feel like people are really looking for authenticity. People are looking for realness and rawness. And, you go on the internet nowadays and people are just posting, highlights of their life. They're not posting the bad parts. So you go on the internet and it's so easy to compare your life to someone else's and, feel so down on yourself when what you're seeing may not even be the reality, and same thing with music, don't get me wrong. I love music, a lot of music that has auto-tune and processing, but, a lot of it nowadays just sounds like crap, not all of it, but there is a lot of crap out there. And people want to hear real musicians again. People want to hear real instruments. People want to see real performances. People want to see imperfections, and they don't want things to be so polished, because at that point, it kind of doesn't have much soul to it. And I think that's what people are starving for. And I think that's what we're going to bring to music in 2026.
I want to hover on that idea of authenticity for a second, because I like where you're going with that. I mean, I think Jason and I certainly believe this. Clearly, I think you do as well, that the most successful songs are always the most authentic. Mm-hmm. And I think that, there's been a lot of buzz this year about the so-called return to grunge. And I guess to some degree that includes Identity Crisis. But how do you remain authentic when so many people inevitably compare you to those bands? Like, is that a burden? Is it a compliment, or is it both?
I mean, it's definitely a compliment. These are some great bands that we're being compared to. And I mean, we look up to these guys. So it is great to be compared. But at the same time, authenticity, I think whenever we write, whenever we make music, I think we just have to make sure that we're not focusing on trying to, reach a certain sound, or trying to chase a certain sound. We kind of just write, and whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? And I think if you stay true to that, also, like, there's a saying that Rick Rubin says all the time that I love. And the second you start worrying about what the audience thinks, that's when you messed up as an artist. You should be making music that you love making, and you should focus on making something that you want to listen to and that you like. And in return, people will follow. And you just ask, how do you stay authentic? And, just in that way, making music that you are in touch with, and not worrying about, I want this song to sound like Pearl Jam, or I want this song to sound like Led Zeppelin, or so on and so forth. Really just creating what you want to create, and other people, leave it up to other people to put a label on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about authenticity. We do it all the time on this show with whoever we're speaking to. I love that you brought that up yourself without us even prompting you to. And I would imagine that that's probably one of the biggest things that you've taken from those bands, that era that you're glossing onto. In that spirit, though, you've got plenty of young fans. You're 23.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the same time, I have to imagine you also have as many Gen X and millennial fans too, who are like, "Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah."
What's that like?
It's cool, man. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I mean, we love all our fans, no matter how old, how young. I think it's cool, being able to reach all different age groups and all different types of people. I think it's beautiful, because music's a universal language. Do
you think that's the reason that era of music kind of still feels relevant to younger audiences today?
It's timeless. Timeless music is never not going to touch people, in my opinion.
It's the t-shirt and jeans of music, as opposed to the trends of certain sounds, certain instruments being used. I remember, I'm not a huge hip hop guy. I like some hip hop, but like when that trap beat started happening, I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? It just sounded so like in a moment. It didn't sound timeless to me in my old ears. And when I think of this kind of music, it just feels like t-shirt and jeans. You can go back 50, 60, 80 years and everyone's wearing t-shirt and jeans. It just lives on. It's the Converse Chuck Taylors of music.
Great music is great music, like I said. And just like in sports, I mean, there's players who are great and will do great in any era. And it's the same thing with music. There's music that's great and it's going to do well no matter what point in time we're in.
Let's step out of Identity Crisis for a second. I think that this question is probably a little bit more personally tailored to you as the artist that we're talking to right now. But music fans, they'll often project their own struggles onto music. They'll project their own struggles onto identity or a character or relationships. Have you seen people interpret your songs in ways that surprised you?
Totally. I mean, even just within the band, I don't always tell the guys what I'm writing the lyrics about. And then when they finally find out, they're like, wow, thought it meant something completely different, but it's cool. That's the beautiful thing about music, is that everyone's going to interpret it differently. And that's the beauty of it, and meanings of songs change over time, like look at Alive, for example.
Great example.
It started off as, he wrote it about, a bad situation, and then it turned into, it's this super huge empowering anthem that they close their shows with, and it's a beautiful thing. So, meanings of songs, not only can they be interpreted differently, but they can also change over time as well. And that's
absolutely
the beauty of it.
Do you, I mean, you guys only have a handful of songs right now, what, 7, 8, 9 songs, something like that total?
Yeah. Recorded.
9.
Recorded that we are aware of. Hold on. Yeah. Tease.
We may or may not have just got back from LA about a month ago, where we did 14 new songs.
Songs?
Yeah.
All right.
So this EP is like an amuse-bouche, and the entree is coming down the pike, is what you're saying.
We got some songs coming,
all
man.
Right.
2027, 2028. We got
fair enough.
The fans
I was just watching.
Sure.
I was just watching this BBC Sessions thing with the Foo Fighters they kind of broke down some of their new songs, and they had the stems, and they were like soloing things and talking about how they arranged and why they did what they did. Right. And I think it was Pat Smear was talking to Dave about how he had no idea that that new song "Child Actor" was about. They didn't say it on air on the edit, but like that was about what Dave said it was about. He always thought about something else. And then Nick Mendel goes, "That's why I think you're such a good lyricist, because you'll take a very personal thing and you'll manipulate the words in a way that it becomes universal."
Right.
And I'm like, that's right. And so when I read your lyrics or any of the lyrics of bands of songs that I like, if it does that for me, I fucking love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you try to do that, or do you try to keep it? Hey, this is my story.
Honestly, not intentionally. I feel like during songwriting, like we don't even think about stuff like that. It kind of just comes out of you and
visceral,
right? And people are going to interpret it how they interpret it.
Absolutely, man. I think it's good to just kind of let that breathe, because to some degree, it allows the song to realize its own ambitions. And right. that becomes this organic thing that ultimately, like once it's out there, and this has been said before, but once you put it out there, it's not yours anymore. Mm-hmm. Like you wrote it, but now it means something to others too, right? Correct. And so you're sharing that with the world. So that art, and honestly, therein lies the power of it. And that allows it to grow. That's the sunlight and the water by which it is fed. Right. And ultimately it's the ability to kind of like relinquish that, that allows songs to grow. And I think, Alive, which is what you mentioned, is a great example of a song that continues to feel timeless and not dated or rooted in a specific era, because the band allowed it to grow with them and their audience. Right. So I think that's important. I think, sometimes it almost feels like every song has been written. You know what I mean? Like you hear a song, it's like, oh, that reminds me of this. Or, is there anything we could write about, any lyrical content that you could mine or unearth that some other artist hasn't before, or a chord progression that doesn't show up somewhere else? And yet we still get new music that makes us feel something. What do you believe is more important when writing a song, originality or honesty?
I think honesty, because with honesty comes originality.
Ah, okay.
Because your truth is your truth. It might be akin or similar to someone else's experience, and therein lies the fandom.
Exactly.
Hey, I've experienced this too. I didn't realize that you had a similar struggle. Because, GCD is going to be used a million times, but like that story is only that story.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Because the more honest you are with yourself, how more original can that be?
Well, so in speaking of honesty, when writing songs that are so vulnerable, that I would imagine that there is a line at which you are not going to cross for personal reasons, how do you know when your story, your song articulates what you're trying to convey enough, honestly, but without revealing everything?
Are you saying like lyrically or message wise? I feel like it just depends, man. I mean, it depends on how touchy the subject is as well. You know what I mean? Like if it's something really fucked up, you got to cover it up a little more. You know what I mean? Versus if it's, you know, not as messed up, then you can kind of be a little more straightforward with your lyrics.
So let's bring it back home to, you know, you're with the guys, you guys are recording or you're rehearsing. So the boilerplate question when it comes to songwriting is lyric first or music first, right? But I think maybe, you know, we would argue that a better question would be which approach informs a more personal connected song for you?
Music first.
Music first. Why?
How come?
Music first. Because when I hear an instrumental, when I hear a guitar riff or a bass line that James wrote, you know, it's going to make me feel a certain way. Depending on how the music makes me feel, that could ultimately lead to what I'm writing the song about, based off the emotion that I feel when I hear the music, if that makes sense.
So a chord change, a riff might elicit a feeling, and okay, now I feel this way. Do you already have some things jotted down in a diary that you're going to be like, oh, this would work for this, and then you start fleshing it out and you put that thing on a loop? Or how do you what's your process like?
So, you know, sometimes I'll take something that I already have written. Maybe I'll take lyrics from another song or an unfinished song that I think might work better on this progression or whatnot. But I mean, also just start from scratch. If I hear an instrumental that makes me feel a certain way or, you know, provokes a certain emotion, I'll just start writing then and there. Sometimes I'll just start, you know, writing during the rehearsal while we're jamming, like in the room, you know. And I've been recording music, you know, since high school, and I've always like just found instrumentals online, and it was kind of the same thing. You know, I would put the instrumental into, you know, Pro Tools or Logic or whatever I was using and just listen to it. Okay, how does this make me feel? Okay, like I'm starting to feel it, and then things start coming out of you. And it's the same thing with the band, you know. We'll sit in a rehearsal room, and these guys are jamming. I'm like, damn, I feel something. And then it just all starts pouring out. Or sometimes it takes time. You know, they might have to send me a recording of it, and I have to just listen to it. And it comes to me.
It's interesting, like diving into process with you. And not every band functions that way, you know. I mean, I can think of one particular post-grunge band that shall remain nameless. That is, you know, there's one particular member of that band who plays lead guitar, who is the driving engine of that music, to the point where it can feel creatively stifling for a singer, and they've gone through more than one singer because of that. But when you talk about process within Identity Crisis, what's fascinating to me is this idea that all of the pieces inform each other. So I'm kind of curious to hear from you. You know, when I think of a band, like my son asked me the other day, you know, if Eddie Vedder wasn't in Pearl Jam anymore, would Pearl Jam keep making music? And in my head, I was thinking it was almost unfathomable for me to think about it. You know, because all the guys have their own side projects anyway, but in the same way that, you know, and I know Bonham was a drummer, but in the same way that, you know, Zeppelin was not the same without Bonham, the Beatles were not the same without John. I mean, Pearl Jam's not the same. It's not Pearl Jam without Eddie. You know what I mean? I would argue they may feel the same way about every member of the core band from the beginning, Mike, Stone, Jeff. So when you think about the guys in your band, as you guys are kind of slowly evolving and growing together as musicians, what makes each member of your band feel irreplaceable right now?
I'll start with James because, you know, that's my guy. I mean, James has been my best friend since high school, before either of us even picked up an instrument. So to me, I mean, that chemistry that we have and we've had for years on end, you know, it helps so much. It helps so much with everything. It helps with the hang. It helps with touring. Like, I'm just literally, I've been going in this dude's, I'm in his room right now, by the way. This is his room. This isn't even my room, but, you know, and he's not even here. Right. So, just that bond that we've shared with each other for the past 7 years. It helps with songwriting. Like I said, it helps with touring. We can be brutally honest with each other without hurting each other's feelings. You know what I mean? Which is extremely important in songwriting. So it's, to me, that's irreplaceable. Just that bond that we share with each other. It's like, he's like my brother, and then, Parker, who I haven't known for as long, but it's kind of the same thing. Like he is a founding member of this band at the end of the day, and the energy that he brings, on stage, off stage, musically, he's great. I mean, he's a great guitar soloist. He's a great guitar player. He just adds so much value to the team. I mean, for the longest time, like when we first started this band, me and James would stand there like statues, and Parker's over here just freaking going crazy and like just carrying the show. You know what I mean? And but same thing, since he's been a part of this since the beginning, I couldn't imagine looking to my left and my right and seeing someone other than James and Parker. It'd be weird.
When you play live, you mentioned playing live there. How much value do you put on being out there, having that chemistry tested on a stage, under the lights, with new crowds every single night? How do you think you guys coalescing on stage is going to inform the next? I mean, you guys just said that you did the 14 songs or so.
Correct.
But I imagine being on stage together, like Pearl Jam did in the early 90s.
Correct.
You get this chemistry from being on stage and being in I don't want to say in war, but like when you're on the stage, you are learning together how to be a band. Correct. As much as you are friends off of stage. How will the next year of playing out, do you think, will that inform the next batch of songs and the next batch of songs?
Every time you go on the road, or even just play show, even if it's like, a couple of shows within a month, you come off the stage a different band every time, and that is going to affect the songs you write. That's going to affect the direction you take. Also, even playing live, and let's say you're playing a song live for the first time that you've never played before. You get feedback from the crowd. You get feedback, you can learn, okay, this song works or this song doesn't work. At the end of the day, we're a live band, so we want our music to work in a live setting. And playing live is a telltale sign of, is this song going to work for us or not? Because all of our favorite bands are live bands. I mean, look at Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains, Led Zeppelin, Queen, all those guys. I mean, they're live bands. You know what I mean? People want to see that live show. But yeah, like you said, I mean, playing on stage together is a bond that, you don't share with anybody else in your life, not even your parents, and it's sacred. And the more time you guys put in together on stage, the more you're going to learn each other, the more chemistry you're going to have, and everything. It just makes everything different, but in a good way.
For sure, man. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, like just playing live, and how you guys, your favorite bands are live bands. I mean, all those bands that you mentioned, whether it was Zeppelin or, Pearl Jam, I think of bands like the Grateful Dead as well, even early Beatles stuff. And Jeff has said this before, where he said, we wanted to make records to give us the opportunity to go out and play live in front of people. I guess this is kind of a two-part question, in the sense that, number one, do you also consider Identity Crisis a band that wants to make records to give you the opportunity to go out and play live? Or is it the inverse of that, where you want to play live and feel like you have to play live to give yourself the opportunity to go make records? And then the second half involves what you just talked about, which is that sense of community. Because bands like Pearl Jam, the Grateful Dead, there's a real sense of community. I mean, this podcast emerged out of a community like that, and we've since, felt blessed to be able to be a part of that community, and to have formed kind of our own to a degree. So, how would you characterize the community of Identity Crisis?
I mean, man, because making records and playing shows are two great things, but two very different things.
Distinctly different things, yeah.
But as much as I love making records, I still feel like, playing shows it's like game day. it is, to me, I feel like that's why you put in that work. You make these songs so you can go on stage and, you know, play them for people and connect with people and ultimately impact these people's lives in a positive way. So personally, the reward is the show, in my opinion.
Okay.
That is the reward. I think all the work that you put in, all the rehearsals, all the recordings, like I said, is so you can get on that stage and give people the night of their freaking life that they're never going to forget. You know, you might, you know, even though you're going to a different city every night, you know, these people are only going to see you maybe once a year if you're touring actively. And these people are never going to forget these moments that you give them. You know what I mean? I mean, to you as an artist, if you're playing 200 shows a year, you know, it's, you know, each show at some point it's going to get where, you know, each show's going to feel like the last, not in a bad way, you know, that sounds shitty, but I mean, you're playing shows constantly. It's easy for those moments to kind of blend together, if that makes sense.
It becomes a washing machine where you're just kind of cycling through each day.
Right. Versus, you know, somebody, like I said, who you haven't played Austin in a year and they're going to go to your show and they're going to remember that for the rest of your life or their life. Sorry. And just like you asked about community, it's the same thing with fan interactions. You know, I think you need to treat every fan, you know, like family, because they're always going to remember that interaction with you for the rest of their life. I mean, like, same thing with shows. I mean, they might just be another fan to some artists, but to you or to them, you're everything. They're always going to remember that interaction they had with you.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you said all that, because when we think about what's behind me and what's behind Paul and what we generally talk about on the show, Pearl Jam or otherwise, any music that touches us that we want to talk about kind of has this in common generally. And that is that sense of community, that give and take. And when you go to a show, you feel like you're one organism, that everyone's kind of riding a wave, that everyone's a part of creating from an energy standpoint. There's a give and a take. It's an organism, if you will. And especially now in 2026, when there's every app under the sun trying to take me away and yet connect me digitally to some version of myself. You said it before, the highlights version, right? Yeah. To have those in-person moments of connection is so necessary, and I crave it. And so the fact that you are craving that too, as a 23-year-old in this part of our human timeline, is so refreshing to hear. And I feel like I'm just gushing around it. But this is what music's all about, is it not? Is this not why we do this?
Right, it is. I mean, think about it too. Like you said about the whole digital world. There's 1,000 apps that can take you away, but nothing compares to that feeling that you get when you go see your favorite band. And even like, for example, you take videos and you look at them the next day and you're showing them to your friends, but the video doesn't even show a fraction of what you were feeling in that moment. And the only way you can feel that feeling again is to go to another concert or play another show. And I think that's why, you know, these musicians are touring when they're freaking 80 years old, because nothing compares to that environment.
It's interesting.
Hold on, Paul. I have one follow up, and I know you've got a question lined up, Paul. But you said that, Reece, and I was just at a Bad Nerves concert here in Los Angeles. Punk band. They played for an hour. They played like 20 songs in an hour. It was fucking great. I was filming, because that's what you do when you have a podcast. You got to put the content out there, you know, whatever.
Right.
So I'm filming, but I'm enjoying it. I've got the phone in one hand, and I like to do an active film, as I say. I like to do some pinching, some zooming, some panning, really make it feel like you're there. But I've got a tall boy in my hand. And so I got the tall boy, and I'm pinching while I'm doing it, and the circle pit is to my right. And I know it's there. I can feel it. I'm getting pushed every once in a while. I'm trying to follow it does not. So I'm trying to follow the band. Actually, the video's on this phone, so I haven't posted it. But I'm pinching, like I'm rocking out the song. It's killing. All of a sudden, boom! I get hit by the circle pit. The beer goes flying to God knows where. It was half full. Everywhere. I'm like, well, I knew that was coming. But you know what? That was fucking great. The circle. I haven't been in a circle pit. I'm 44. I haven't been in a circle pit in a minute now.
Yeah.
And I got that physical interaction that I'm not going to get just staring at the video on my phone, and you can't take it away.
And see what we were just talking about too. You're never going to forget that moment either.
That's great.
Never.
Reece, one of the things that always fascinates me about the way music evolves is the way that music is distributed and the way people find and access music. We had James from James and the Cold Gun on recently, fairly recently, not too long ago. And we were talking to James about just the challenges that come with making music in this digital age, for an algorithmic generation of people, and how different it is from, say, 25, 30 years ago, where, a lot of the bands that maybe you would cite as, or you and the guys would cite as major influences on you, they lived in an era where you had to pay to play, you would go to the Viper Room in LA and you had to pay to play there, and you had to build your following, and it was all connected to ticket sales at the door and bar tabs. And part of me always wants to ask a younger artist, how do you get by in an era that's just so saturated versus back then? But at the same time, if you asked any of these bands, 30, 40 years ago, what would they give to have this level of access? They'd be like, are you kidding me? Like, I can reach that many people like that? They would take that in a heartbeat. But the flip side of it, though, is that there's a battle for authenticity. You know what I mean? That exists today. I think there's an existential battle in music for authenticity, especially in an AI generation. When you guys are making music, do you ever pause for a second and just think about how different making music is for you today than it was 20, 30 years ago? And do you think, well, I'm grateful like that we have all this, or do you almost like wish that it was a simpler?
It's definitely challenging today. There's two sides of it. Like you guys said, back in the day, if you wanted to get seen, you had to pack up and go to Los Angeles, or you had to pack up and go to Seattle or New York or Chicago, right, or wherever. Nowadays, you can just post a video, and overnight, you have a following. You have people listening to your music. But it's tricky, like you said, because it's saturated, and there's millions and millions of other people doing the same thing or trying the same thing that you are, which can get stressful sometimes, not because you're worrying about other people, but, as a musician nowadays, and I was actually funny, I was not complaining, but talking to the guys about this morning, like being a musician in 2026 is you're also a part-time content creator, like literally.
Yeah, man.
It's
five hats. You all do.
Right. And I see this video all the time on Instagram. It's like, imagine telling Kurt Cobain he had to post a TikTok every day. You know what I mean? And it's like, it is.
I've got a really dark joke. I'm not going to tell, but yeah.
No, don't go there.
But it is what it is, but you got to do what you got to do. At the end of the day, if you want to be successful in today's day and age as a musician, you have to do it. And, if you want something bad enough, we want it really badly. To us, making content, we realize that if we want to be where we want to be in the next 10 years or however long, it's just part of it. It's our job. And we have moments, where we're like, man, what the fuck? We, this and that. We got to do all this TikTok shit. Right. But, how lucky are we to even have a platform to be able to do this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you can always look at it in a negative way, but just try our best to take the positives from it.
I was talking with Chris Buck from Cardinal Black, excellent guitar player, and he was saying that their new U.S. representation was like, there's a 70-20-10 rule where 70% is content, 20% is like actual music, and 10% is like information. Hey, the show's at this day. This, and I go, that sucks. He's like, yeah, it's not great. But, I go, well, you guys have a good time. Like, I enjoy those contenty videos, but like, that's gotta be, is that the worst part? It's not terrible, but is that the worst part of being in a band in 2026? That,
man,
Feel free to throw anybody under the bus, by the way.
It's not why you write music, obviously.
Well, right. It has its
the
moments
reality.
Where it has its moments where it sucks.
Yeah.
For sure. But, like I said, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. You gotta get in front of that camera and post videos, or guess what? It's not gonna happen. Yeah. Sadly. That 70-20-10, that was pretty accurate. I'm not gonna lie. Pretty accurate. But there was a point in time where we didn't have to do any of this. We were just playing the local bars and which was great. I loved it. But if you want to level up, I mean, where do you want to be? Where do you want to get to? How successful do you want to be? And are you willing to do whatever it takes at the end of the day? And we are.
I told Paul we got some doing TikTok dances to get ourselves out there.
You should.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm still on the fence about how willing I am to do.
Well, also it depends on your type of content as well. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Of course, man. Of course.
For example, like I would say 80 to 90% of our viral videos, we just set the phone up and press record and no editing.
You guys in the yard just rocking out.
Right. Yeah. And then, you go try to do this TikTok-y, hooky stuff and it doesn't hit as hard. And it's like, you would think it would, but it's not, So it's like figuring out what works and what doesn't. Sometimes that cheesy stuff is just not going to hit people if that's not what people want to see from you.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, man, it's clear the evidence is there. You guys are willing to put in whatever it takes. So I guess the last question that I think that I want to ask you here is, imagine that someone discovers identity crisis 10 years from now. Okay. Beyond the music, what do you hope, I guess, that they will learn about this moment in time from what you've created?
Wow. I hope that it inspires them and it inspires them to not worry and, not get down on themselves and just know that everything is going to be okay. Because, I love listening to 10 because when I listen to 10, it reminds me of a bunch of guys who didn't know what was to come, didn't know what was going to happen. They could have easily failed, but they just stuck it out and everything worked out. And that's something my mom always told me and taught me was, you know how it is. You call your mom stressing and she says, honey, it always works out. It does. And I'm hoping that in the future, when people see where we're at and they can look back to this time period where we're just some young kids still trying to figure it out, they can see that it still worked out. And as long as you stick it out and, stay disciplined, stay consistent in life, keep your head up, that everything will be okay.
Well, Reece, I have to say, I think your articulation of your music, of yourself, of your process is impressive. And I have to say that I am thankful that there is music being created now, rock music specifically, that when I go forward in 10 years, I'll look back and say, someone was honest, someone was empathic, someone was not afraid to be real amongst all the bullshit that we are surrounded with all of the time, it feels like. I will speak for myself in that way. So I appreciate you being vulnerable with us about the band, about the new EP, and yourself and your process. So thank you.
Thank you guys for having me, man. Like I said, I've been, huge fan of you guys for a long time, and I'm just, I feel surreal almost, being here. So
it was a pleasure to have you on. We enjoyed the conversation, man. This is the kind of dialogue that makes it all worth it for us.
Awesome.
Reece Gonzales, Identity Crisis, new EP Starve out now wherever you can stream the thing. And there's a vinyl on identitycrisis.com. So go get that. Reece Gonzales.
Thank you guys. Shout out to the fans. Love you guys so much. The next few years are going to be crazy. So y'all get ready.
Buckle up.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Thanks again to Reece for staying up late in Texas to talk with us about the new EP, the songwriting process, and everything Identity Crisis. I'm excited about the new music, Paul.
I'm thrilled. I really am. Excited about the future songs that he hinted at as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the songs that are in the here and now are worth a listen. So if you have yet to take a gander, I highly encourage you to go do so. Good stuff, man. And honestly, the best part about it is just learning more about the process, which we were able to do with Reece in this conversation. You really get a sense that there is such honesty and authenticity to the music. This is not a group trying to be something else. This is not a group of musicians trying to recreate or recycle a sound. This is a band inspired by a sound, making their own thing, and it's great. So have a listen.
In the words of Pete Townsend, the kids are all right. If I may.
Well said.
You know? Before we get out of here, this is how I downshift because there's no real good way of getting to this. But
no.
For me, a musical giant has left this celestial plane, Paul.
Yeah, so and a great use of that word, by the way, because we opened the show talking about light years, and I think we're at a place in time where I totally agree with you. This guy was he was bigger than life.
We're going to have a few thoughts about Glen Hansard here. The passing of Glen Hansard, 56 years old, motorcycle accident in Dublin. In the early hours of Wednesday, July 29th. I just want to read these lyrics here because they're one of the first things to come to mind when I learned of the news. And wherever you've gone and wherever we might go, it don't seem fair. Today just disappeared. Your light's reflected now, reflected from afar. We were but stones. Your light made us stars. It's not surprising to me that one of the first things I thought of were those lyrics written by Glen's very close friend, Eddie Vedder. Not about him, of course. This song is 26 years old. But those two shared a bond that I don't even know if I have that. Maybe I do. But they both seem to be people who care deeply, loved strongly, were unapologetic about it, were outgoing about it, and you saw it. That friendship of theirs was, I think, what you want to have. I think that's, and I don't mean to frame Glen's life as just a friend to Eddie, because obviously he's much more than that. He was a musician, musician's musician. Shihan Pereira said that in an Instagram live with Anita. They were talking about Glen, and he said that, and I go, that's right. I mean, this guy he wrote songs that you could not help but feel deeply. And while I didn't really follow him much when I was younger, Swallow Season, even the Frames, I found him later in my life, over the last probably 4, 5, 6 years. And I go, wow, this guy is an absolute gem, not only as a musician, but as a human. And it's very weird to think that he's not around.
It is weird. Gone too soon. And I loved the angle that your heart and your mind went with this, because you think about Glen and his work with the Frames, opening for Pearl Jam. I think it was like in Dublin and like back in '93 or something. And that relationship with Eddie and the guys starts there. And then nearly 20 years ago, we see Glen's light shining as brightly as it ever would, with Falling Slowly and Once, and winning an Academy Award for just exemplary craftsmanship. and songwriting and acting, quite frankly. And you fast forward to 2022 with Earthlings and all the times Glen opened for Eddie, and I feel blessed to have been able to. I think I want to say he opened for him at the Wiltern when we saw him for that solo tour. If memory serves.
Oh God, he might have. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he did. I know I've seen him open for Eddie before, and the first thought I had when that news was shared with us, because we were in a group thread when we heard it, was the heartache that I envisioned those closest to him, people like Eddie and Jill, because their families were friends,
and Olivia,
and Olivia, and so many other people in his life that he's touched. How heartbreaking, and how that ache that is going to be felt. I wasn't thinking about the music. I was thinking about the loss of a good person, of a special human, as you mentioned. And I'm glad that I went there, because, and this is, I don't think I can pay Glen a higher compliment than this. I never met the man, right? But you could see the impact he had on others, and how much other people valued his presence in their lives. That was so transparent. It was like they exuded admiration and love for him. And to that end, I'm sure that heartbreak is unimaginable. So we lost a good one. We really lost a good one. And hats off to a beautiful person, by all accounts. And the music that we have, that we should be grateful for, and the music that we have now been robbed of in the future that we can mourn. And I don't know what else to say other than it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. I don't find myself at a loss of words much, as most of you probably know. And we are both grateful to be allowed to say words on Pearl Jam Radio, throughout the weeks. And thank you guys for listening and enjoying that. But we had to record some things. We had to turn it around. We had to find something to say, because that's just what we had to do. And I found myself putting together some notes and some things to say to explain how I felt, introduce a song. And I actually had to do multiple takes for a couple of them because I couldn't get through it properly.
Yeah.
And to your point, I've never met the guy.
Yeah.
But through his music, through seeing how he loves life, loves his friends, loves the music, loves being, I remember he gave this young kid, this 6 or 7 year old kid, he brought him up on the Ohana stage and had the kid singing his song because the kid loved that song. And I interviewed the kid afterwards. And this is like 3 or 4 years ago. I forgot how long. And it was just this to see that joy, and that, like, that's what life is about. And he exuded that to the fullest.
Hey, man, it's what music is about, huh?
It is. And just to get that feeling without ever actually having a conversation with the guy is something powerful. And to your point, we are robbed of any more of that. And that pisses me off.
It does. I will say there's something serendipitous that we had Reece on for this show, in the sense that here's a young musician that understands the value of honesty and authenticity. And if Glen Hansard and his music was nothing if not authentic and honest. And I think it's just a great, it's a great sign that the light that was Glen Hansard, we can continue to see reflected. You cited that line from Light Years. We'll continue to see it reflected in other artists and in other people moving forward. And may we continue to think of him and remember him fondly in those experiences. So R.I.P. Glen Hansard.
Yes, sir. We've got a lot of shows coming down the pike. As you know by now, we do have a big Seattle pilgrimage weekend coming on August 28th through 30th. That's coming up in just a few weeks. So
around the corner.
Get your tickets for that big event at London Bridge Studio, 35th anniversary of 10. Shibuya Hi-Fi 30th anniversary of No Code. It's going to be amazing. Talk about community. We're going to get together, probably have a few drinks, have a few cries, have a few laughs, talk music, talk about friendship. Couldn't have been a better time, Paul, to have this happen than what's going on right now. So we'll see any of you there that come. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on the pod. And until then, you've been listening to or watching
The State of Love and Trust.